This is the process shot. I'm Michael. I'm stuck in a haunted movie theater, and I've seen Royal Wedding, the 1951 musical romantic comedy from Stanley Donen. It follows song and dance siblings Tom and Ellen as their hit Broadway show takes a trip to London ahead of the royal wedding of 1947, I think. Don't ask me how I know that. On the boat ride over, Ellen meets Lord Brindale, who has more connections than money. And when in London, Tom meets Anne, a dancer whom he falls for almost immediately. Trouble arises when Anne admits that she's engaged to a man back in the States. Brindale doesn't really do much at all, and the idea that the siblings' respective romances could break up their act is introduced and resolved within the third act. So, yeah. There really isn't much in the way of a story going on here, as you can guess. The film does at least have one, but this is one of those musicals that's more of a review with different songs rather than something more clearly meshed together. That is, the songs don't really matter to the story, and the story doesn't really matter to the music. It's fitting, given that Tom and Ellen's own Broadway show is apparently a review, but it still comes off as a bit uncreative, especially given how flat the story is when you ignore the music. The handful of relationships are pretty bland, based more on visual chemistry than anything more substantial, save perhaps for Tom and Ellen, who at least have more to do with each other than follow a formula. The rest of the story is pretty quickly paced, seemingly more for the sake of setting up the next musical number or closing out a previously established plot point. Again, most conflicts are resolved pretty quickly, and if not quickly, then without much development. Obviously, this leaves the musical numbers to carry the weight, and it's pretty clear that this was the idea from the start. Much of the film's creativity seems to have been put into these songs and dances, each seemingly made to showcase some new element of theatrics and spectacle, whether it be in the art design, bringing out a full spectrum of color and staging, or set design being treated with experimentation. Two of the numbers in Royal Wedding are most notable because of how they play with the actual environment around the dancers, dancing with inanimate objects, making the floor tilt and shake, or literally dancing on the ceiling. The songs themselves aren't very memorable, but the dances are, and it seems that's the greater purpose of the film. It's not so much about being a more heartfelt romantic comedy with musical numbers that advance the story, but a showcase for the singing and dancing talent to tell a love story between songs in a review format. I still feel that there's room for a greater balance, but what we have now isn't entirely so bad. Royal Wedding, Stanley Donen, 1951. 3 stars. I'd say to give it a shot, even if it isn't perfect. Anyways, that's it for the review. If you liked it, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a comment. Subscribe to the channel for more reviews. I still wonder if this musical review format was just how things were done back then. There's probably a reason you don't see it now anymore. Or they've just gotten more subtle about it.